Hey, and thank you for coming to the episode of Let's Talk About today. We're with London Theist, so I'll give you a second to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks, JB. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name's Dean Scott from Greenwich, London, and I'm better known as London Theist on Twitter. I'm a Christian, and I've been on Twitter about since April last year. I work full time as a maintenance manager, a facilities manager at a university in Greenwich, southeast London. But my passions are history, theology, and yeah, I've been a Christian about 18 months now, and I'm an Anglican. And JB asked me to come talk about Anglicanism, and it'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. So, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate you coming by. Kind of doing some rearranging at my house. I had this weird sideways setup right now. I'll try to do this when I can. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna do things a little bit different with you than I have with some of the other ones because you're not as much of a expert on Anglicanism as some of the other people that I've had on as far as Catholicism and Reformed Baptist and polytheism.
Yeah.
Um, so I listen. Let me just start with to you. What is Anglicanism like? Where does it fit on like the denomination scale between like Catholic and Reformed theology
It's
and just
pretty much.
the
Yeah. So it's pretty much the via media is the way in the Latin term for it, the middle way. And I can go through the history from what I've read in the past and things like that if you want. But in terms of that question, we'd call ourselves Catholic and Reformed. It's very much in the Catholic in the sense, universal patristic fathers. We trace our lineage back to the early Christians and the apostles, and the spread of it across the Mediterranean and Europe and the rest of the world. So we trace it back very much to them modern day, the start of it. And then during the Reformation, we consider ourselves Reformed with the emphasis on the Bible, not being under the Bishop of Rome and not accepting Peter's supremacy as the Bishop of Rome as the main head, infallible. So we emphasise reformed in that sense. But in many ways, we are kind of a mixture in the way the middle way says, and we take certain practices from the Reformed and the Catholic traditions.
okay, and just kind of a little bit of a history lesson for me and for some of the people out there. Would Anglicanism be considered like the the Church of the State of England, basically with the Queen and stuff being the head of the church over there?
Yeah, sure. I'll go back through like a brief history of Anglicanism from what I'm aware and what my pastor told me and what I've looked up. Basically, there's traditions. It goes all the way back from Joseph of Arimathea coming to England, which is very traditional. There's no real solid evidence of this, but he reportedly went to Glastonbury, which is one of the holiest sites in England through pagan mythology as well, and the Druids. But apparently he went there at that time, and there's other sources that say St Andrew went to Scotland and things like that. Peter's brother. But what we do know for certain is in the first couple of centuries there were Christians, Celtic Christians in the UK, especially in England and other areas, because by the Council of Nicaea there were Christians coming from the UK to be on the panel to vote against Arianism and other matters which Constantine had called in. So we know early on there was a Celtic Christian church in that time. For the next couple of centuries, Angles and Saxons sort of took over, invaded England after the fall of Rome, and very much brought paganism back to the forefront and their religious ideas. There was still a minority Christian view. Also on that subject, St Patrick would be someone, and St Alban maybe people know early on through Christians in the UK. St Patrick was a Celtic Christian who went across to Ireland and converted the people over there. St Alban was what we call the proto martyr, the first killed for the faith, being a Christian in the UK, and that's just outside London, in St Albans. It's now named. We've got Cathedral City there, no, Cathedral Town, sorry. And then yeah, for a few centuries, it was very much the pagans were taken over again, and then Gregory the Great sent missionaries across, and in about year 597, I think it was, Augustine of Canterbury, not to be confused with Augustine of Hippo, come across, and he converted the King of Kent at the time, Ethelbert, whose wife was already from France and was already Catholic, Latin, Christian. So that was the first chance of Catholicism really taking shape in England, even though there was Christianity, like I said earlier, dating back a bit earlier than that, we know a few centuries. He became Augustine based in Canterbury, which is the seat of the Archbishop of Kent, Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the Church of England. So he became the first Archbishop, and that line has continued over about 105 now Archbishops we've had up to Justin Welby, who's the current one. So we've got tradition going back 1400 years of Archbishops of Canterbury. For the next few hundred years, it carried on very much under Rome, with the Archbishop still reporting to Rome, things like that. We had, and then it gets more interesting in the Reformation period, when Henry VIII was in power, and this is the part quite a lot of people know about, the Church of England. Henry VIII wanted a divorce. Before that, Martin Luther was obviously spreading across Europe, and Henry VIII actually wrote a treatise against Martin Luther, and he was rewarded by the Pope as a defender of the faith, really high honour. And so he was very much Catholic in his mindset, Henry VIII. He just had a problem where he'd married Catherine of Aragon, and due to dynastic quarrels, and he couldn't get a son from her, and he fell in love with Anne Boleyn, who was his mistress, who he wanted to make his queen. He basically pulled out all the stops to get a divorce and say the marriage wasn't legit because she was his brother's wife originally, and his brother Arthur, who was supposed to be the king before him, died very young. So they eventually got that through, and Thomas Cranmer was one of the leading people in that, and he became the Archbishop of Canterbury. And Henry VIII, gradually as he got more and more, he did dissolution of the monasteries. He was very power hungry, and he adapted it, even though he was still a Catholic in heart and loved the sacraments and had a Catholic theology in the mindset. He was very much controlling, and he named himself the head of the state, which we still have with our Queen Elizabeth II is the head of state and church. So we have it's continued from then with the kings or / queens in as the supreme head with an archbishop there. So that's a little bit of history background on.
So as far as with the history of it goes, I guess you could say that we can trace it back to the break off between the king and the Catholic Church.
Well, see, that's what we could say in the sense we're that's why we name the Reformation side of it. But we also say we can date it back to the earliest, what the archbishops try to say, and Anglicans like to say, we know we date back to the original church. That was very early centuries. So there were Christians in this land. But yeah, in terms of breaking from Rome, from the year 600 to year 1500, we was very much under Rome. And for the few hundred years before that, we wasn't. And for the 500 years after, we haven't been under Rome, more Protestant, if anything, but still wouldn't classify ourselves fully as Protestant. Does that make sense? Do you want me to?
Okay. Trying to get just trying to get a better understanding of how it works.
Yeah, sure. You froze, JB. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
It's
Hello? JB? Hello? Oh yeah, I see the live chat now. Thanks, Ethan. Is JB? Are you there, JB? I can see you again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you again.
Okay, sweet.
I don't know what happened. Was that my end or your? I think that was maybe your end, JB.
I've had storms over here all day, so I couldn't tell you if it was my end or not. It probably was.
Okay. Yeah.
So trying to, all right, shake the cobwebs. Smart wants the channel.
Hmm. Hi, Ethan.
So, all right. So now that we have a brief history on Anglicanism, I'm gonna always put together these little sheets. So I have like a little thing to kind of go over with some people and have some guide points.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I like to ask everybody, and I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this question, but it's the typical Jesus question: liar, Lord, or lunatic?
Lord. I'm Christian, so it'd be strange if I said another.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So
What's interesting about that question, though, because when I was agnostic all my life, I would never have said liar or lunatic either. So, yeah, I don't think I ever would have described him as when I was agnostic most of my life as a liar or lord. I would have thought just a good person, but yeah. You're gone again, JB. Can you hear me, Spartan?
Can you hear me? Am I good? Am I good?
Can you hear me? I'm a Christian, but I think Jesus is a lunatic.
Are we?
I can see you, JB, but I can't actually hear you. I'm looking at the YouTube thing and seeing if anyone's responding, and I can see Ethan is. I can't actually hear you. I can see you again though.
You can't believe. Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Can
hear
you
you
hear
now.
me? All right, sweet. You can't trust Ethan.
Yeah.
Um, so about the liar, lunatic, Lord thing, one of the things I saw was. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just saw Ethan said he can't. There's no sound, but he's lagging behind, so he's a slow guy. Um, one of the things that I always thought was funny about the liar, lunatic, and Lord thing was that I mean, it wasn't a the entire doctrine of the Trinity didn't come about till after all of this stuff was going on. So you would have to say that those were the three options that were being discussed. Like nobody in the early church, like that wasn't a Trinitarian before the doctrine of Trinity became like official or official church doctrine, considered Jesus a liar or a lunatic or Lord. So I mean, there has to be like a fourth option somewhere in that
Yeah, of course.
in that situation.
Of course, yeah. So it's a bit of a strange one.
I've asked everybody. I've had three Christian. You're the third Christian on my channel, and I've had a polytheist on my channel, and I've asked everybody that question, and I'm going to continue even when I have a rabbi on my channel next month. So,
I missed the polytheist one. Did they answer Lord or liar?
I don't think they answered any of the above. They answered a that Jesus was a person. They didn't deny Jesus existing, and that Jesus would have been a teacher that was, I believe they took the thing of he was mythologized after his death instead of
Okay.
being a whole cloth mythology. It was
Okay. Did that make
a later mythology added on.
Cool.
So you say that Anglicanism is middle ground between Catholicism and like Reformed theology or a Reformed position.
Yeah.
So do y'all still take part in like the Catholic sacraments? That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. So it gets a bit more confusing because what we have is high church, what we call high church and low church. So in a high church Anglican, which I don't attend, but I have in the past. It feels like a Catholic church. You go in, the priest is in the vestments, the whole robes. They're waving incense. It's very much Eucharist based. Very much that is literally Christ's blood and and body, and he's present in that sense. And it's like a choir would be in there, or no little music at all. It feels very Catholic and Roman Catholic. And then in the church I attend, which is Low Church Anglican, it is very much Protestant. So in the sense that you have the sermon takes up most of it. You have singers like a band in the church. You still do mass, the Eucharist, and we believe there is a presence there, more than just a memorial service. We believe there's something spiritual happening, but it's more of a mystery than literally that. It's his blood and what was Spawn saying? Should I try and turn?
He's saying that you could, yeah, if you can.
Is that better?
Just go with it. I hear you fine.
Yeah.
You can adjust the volume.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in the flow. I was like, Ethan, mate, what are you doing?
Dude, I do the same way. Like with my internet messing up earlier, it throws you completely off and gets you.
So in terms of, I'll just speak louder. Yeah, in terms of that, it gets more confusing in the sense that you have a lot of high church and low church, but we're all still one tradition. But it's because of the middle way. We see ourselves very open, very liberal in a way, and very much we don't want to just doctrinally narrow you down. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and it's a policy they've adopted, especially in the last 100 years, and so which I like. It's very inclusive. You're not judgmental, and you can. High church feels a bit more traditional if you like that stuff, but a lot of the Anglican churches now are very much. They probably feel like an American church, like how I imagine a Baptist church would be, something like that.
Not a Baptist church. Those aren't good churches.
Okay, well, I don't know. I guess most Americans are Baptist. I might be wrong, but I don't know.
No, it's Baptist. Well, at least Southern Baptist is what I'm used to. Down here in the South, I was Methodist. I was born and raised in a Methodist family, and then did some Southern Baptist with my wife before she was my wife, and then when we stopped going to church and then decided to go back, we actually started going back to the Methodist church that I grew up in because she wanted.
Methodism sprung from Anglicanism, Wesley and things like that. So that's interesting that that's cool that you
yeah. So I was watching. I think I watched it yesterday. Your show that you did with Zach. Is that his name?
Yeah.
On your going from agnosticism to as far as your move from agnosticism to where you are now, and so was there a reason in particular that you specifically went for the Anglican denomination? Is it just what was near you at the time, or was there?
Yeah.
Because what? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically what I said in the show, when I was 17, I had my first sort of spiritual experiences from completely agnostic background, secular background. And it was at that time we was going to church with my parents and my brother for about 6 months, about 9 months. And yeah, at that time we went around churches not knowing really what was what. And there was like a Methodist, there was a Anglican, a high church Anglican, and then the low church Anglican, which I attend now. And at that time, I was watching, like I think I said in the show, I was watching people on God Channel TV, like Billy Graham, Joel Osteen, like all the big Americans. So I would say I was quite American influenced because they're the ones on TV when you look for that channels. So yeah, TD Jakes, people like that. So when I come back and become a proper Christian, like 11 years later, even though my fiance was nominal Catholic, so she was raised Catholic, like went to Catholic primary school. So when I told her I was believing in God and praying to God and that, and she said she occasionally prays sometimes, I said, "Do you want to go to church? Would you like to go to church with me?" And she said, yeah, sure. And where we live in Greenwich now is not, I grew up in East London. This is South London now. We went to Catholic churches first and a few high church Anglican. And it took us a couple of months. And then I remembered my church, which I liked, the Low Church Anglican in Buckersteel, so towards East London. So that's why we settled on that. It was just more of the feel when things like I was not sure about Catholicism, and I'm still not sure about Catholicism fully, but Anglicanism seemed a great middle way for me. With the Protestant, complete like Baptist, there are some Baptist churches near me and Pentecostal and things like that, but I just like to knowing history and loving history. I like something that links it more to the early church and the patristic fathers, and seeing that the Archbishop goes back like 1600 years. It it all ties in kind of for me, the Anglicanism.
Okay, so I guess you just, one, it was something that you had with your parents, and two, it was kind of something that you felt strongly about because you you like the history of Catholicism, tying it back to the church and to Jesus, but there were parts of Catholicism that you weren't completely sold on. So Anglicanism was kind of like a middle ground
Yeah, and like
position for you.
things like the papacy, the way they view Mother Mary, the intercession of the saints, a few things that I still can't say I'm Catholic. So confession, things like that, things I don't think are biblical, and so, yeah. But I still
Now,
hold them in high regard. So I've got a lot of respect for Catholicism, Roman Catholicism.
now, as far as like the Pope goes, would you say that the Queen is the Queen able to make proclamations for the Church?
Not in the sense that she's infallible, in the
Okay.
sense that she can change certain laws over the country and the church, which she doesn't do, because it's a constitutional monarchy, and we've had hundreds of years of problems with monarchs getting involved and religion getting involved in public life and things like that.
Right.
It's very much set up where she's just like the figurehead, and it's a figurehead who sits there to keep everything in control, but doesn't actually do much. So it's not like she's not like the Pope in that sense, no. But
Okay.
she is technically the head, yeah.
Okay, that was another question that I had for you. We don't have those royalty, monarchy, kingly and queenly figures over here.
Until Trump assumes full monarchical power.
Yeah. If so, I'm moving to England.
But actually, interesting about your founding fathers, I could talk a little bit about that because in terms of Anglicanism, when it was Joel Osteen. I live way too close to that, so I'm not. Don't worry, Ethan. I'm not a Joel Osteen fan. It's just when I was 17, I had memories. I was watching him for a bit. It was more like positive motivation and like not knowing anything at that time. But yeah, I don't watch Joel Osteen now. Don't worry. What was I saying? Founding fathers. Yeah. So what happened in the War of Revolution when you tragically betrayed us? A lot of your church was Anglican still. And what happened when you broke from, like, George Washington was Anglican, the first president of the United States, and quite a few, he was like raised Anglican, and quite a lot of the early presidents were as well, and famous people in your Declaration of Independence. I think it was like half of them were Anglican. So you had this dilemma that a lot of the Anglican time things there were saying praying for the king, and when you split, they had to readapt it, and that basically is what happened in. I can never pronounce this word properly. Episcopalian, is it?
Episcopalian. Yeah, sure. Go with it.
Episcopal. We are secular here. So yeah, Episcopal Church. It's an Episcopal Church. It basically means bishops as overseers, and it was a way of not calling yourself Anglican when you kind of were. But and so it's still quite big, I think, in America, the Episcopal Church.
It is.
I don't know much about it, but looking up a bit of history on that, it was basically from Anglicanism, and there are Anglicans in America nowadays still. So they seem very similar. So I'm not sure why you would be an Anglican or a Episcopal nowadays. Maybe just again, like the more traditional people like me might be Anglican because they like that it's got a longer history, maybe, and maybe Episcopal is more. I'm not too sure. I would have to look into Episcopal a bit more.
A lot of it probably has to do with what you were raised in.
Yeah, true.
Sadly enough. So I got a lot of questions for you, and I'm trying to tie them back to Anglicanism because I kind of want to know about you because I've started interacting with you a lot on Twitter since I started this channel because you were on, I think, my first stream in the chat and didn't know who you were before then. And
I'm very, we could talk about Twitter or anything you want.
Well, maybe this will tie back to your Anglicanism because I'm curious. Where does this label of heretic come from?
So I've got a group on Twitter with Jansen, Anthony, Zimbardo, a few of us, Tyler, you might know, Academic Theist. We'll just talk like theology and like history and things like that on it. And they always get into arguments, like Anthony, especially with like Calvinists. And they called him a heretic, and then I quoted saying one, and I started saying I'm the real heretic. So I just started calling myself a heretic, like for a joke. Because if anyone calls me a heretic, I take it. Some people get offended. I'm quite easygoing, so I used it as a joke then. So I used to do quite a lot of polls, and I quite enjoyed doing Twitter polls. So then on the fourth option, I thought, what can I put here? I've only got 3 options, so I put Dean, you're a heretic, and then someone else posted it, and I think even Inspiring Christianity posted it, and then it really took off, and everyone started posting it. So it just started.
Yeah, I think that's. I want to say that was a couple of weeks ago because I remember I commented on it. I was like, "Who is Dean?" Yeah. And I think you commented back, and we're like, "I." I was like, "Okay." Now back to if stop me if I'm wrong on this, but you were raised in a pretty much secular household with secular parents, and your brother started bringing a Bible into the house.
Yes.
So what was it about the Bible that interested you to begin with?
I think it was more interesting in my brother taking a Bible, and it was just something strange, like saying you never see it with my friends, my family. I did mention in the chat with Jack that my nan was Catholic from Northern Ireland, but she never spoke about faith or anything like that. So I never had that sort of. And it just like, as I'd explain the spirit, but from maybe an atheist point, you'd just say an interest or things like that. It just sort of moved me into that direction. It was just a real interest that as soon as he got it, I wanted to then get involved. I can't explain it fully. And I got a Bible, and I just looked through it, and I started reading the New Testament. I was a bit confused because there was 4 stories of the same thing. Like there's 4 Gospels back to, but that's how basic my understanding was. I was like, they're saying the same thing. Why is this? What's going on? I thought it'd just be a continuation story. And then there's loads of letters which were confusing. Honestly, so confusing to me because without understanding fully, it was just. Yeah, it took a while, and then once I started going to church, I started getting understanding of it, and like I said to Zach, I drifted quite a long way from that, but it always remained in me, and I would say that was God drawing me at that time. Maybe it was just, you might say it was just an interest, or but,
no, well, I mean, I'll probably say it's an interest. You'll say it was, a spirit pulling, but if you've seen any of my shows and my discussions, you know that I don't try to do any kind of belittling or attacking or
of course.
or anything like that. I mean, that's kind of a understanding kind of thing because I want to know what makes people tick in the religions that they're in and see what the differences in all of them are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I want to come on your channel and talk to you because I know you're not an anti-theist who's just going to be having little digs constantly. So, of course.
Yeah, no, and trust me, we all go through when you're brought up in the kind of society that I am. that I was based over here in the States, this whole anti-theist thing, it hits you whenever you first step out of it. You're like,
Oh, okay.
get rid of that. But it's just so much easier just to have actual intelligent conversations on topics, because
Well,
at the end of the day, I mean, I'd have a lot of questions before I become a Christian if it was true. But at the end of the day, if it's true, I'd like to know, and I like to. And part of what I explain to people with me doing this channel is I want to be able to understand the best arguments for the denominations and what the people believe, as opposed to strawmanning them and building up whatever I want them to be.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, as I explained to Zach, I don't know if you saw that part on. I said I joined London Theist not just to get like in an echo chamber and follow only strong Christian, like loads of Christians, and attack atheists. I've followed quite a few atheists now as well, and I wanted to deal with like see right is Richard. At the start, I was like, these new atheists is Richard Dawkins the toughest, and then you learn no, there's Graham Oakley, there's real serious philosophers of religion who bring up incredible strong points for atheism and respectable points and respectable people. So I'm growing as well on Twitter, and I tend to not get involved too much with the anti-theist side, or even the Christians who sometimes say I'm saying things too much neutral. Like, you can never please everybody. Some Christians are quite extreme as well in certain things and fundamental, and some atheists are fundamental as well, quite a lot on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to.
Now, when your brother first brought a Bible in, was was it a whole Bible? Was it just a New Testament? Do you not remember?
It was a whole Bible.
Just the whole Bible?
Bible I've seen in his room. Yeah.
Okay.
King James.
Did you? Of course.
King James. I'm a King James only, by the way. I haven't done it.
Hey, Spartan, clip that one out. 32 minutes.
On Twitter, Dean, you're a heretic, definitely. I didn't see. That's another thing I learned on Twitter. Like, there are King James onlyists. There are. I didn't even. The great thing, I didn't know how hyper Calvinists are, where literally God created people with no free will. You're predestined to hell. Some people literally believe that, and there's some things that I'm learning a lot. So that's cool. Some extreme forms.
Yeah. I actually told somebody today, I was talking to today. I said, I would love to interview a reprobate Calvinist, somebody who believes that Calvinism is true and they are destined for hell. Because everybody you see that's a Calvinist says that they're saved, but by their own standards, there has to be people that aren't saved.
Of course. Yeah. Unless
I want to
universalism is somehow true, and well, it could be true, and there's like some sort of purgatory after, and then everyone gets saved, maybe. But they don't tend to say that. That's more of a you don't really hear Calvinists talking about purgatory or something after.
Yeah. Two quick things real quick. One, because it's my channel, I'm going to shamelessly plug it. We are actually having a discussion with John DePew on universalism coming up in December. So if universalism interests you, come check that one out. And as far as purgatory goes, with y'all having some Catholic roots, do y'all hold to any kind of purgatory in Anglican faith? No.
There were certain things in the Reformation, like indulgences, purgatory, things like that were pretty much cut off completely from Anglicanism, and they can back that up by saying the early church didn't really. They don't think that it dated back that far. It was more of a Roman Catholic thing that developed over the centuries. So.
Okay. Well, since it came up, so I had a question. So
I'm not 100% sure of it. Like I said, I'd love for universalism for everyone to be true, and I've heard people talk on that and say you could atheists or anybody who's not a follower of Christ might go through a purgatory phase, or even Christians can go through that before eternal thing. So there could be purgatory. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Anglicans don't really hold it as a fact, sort of thing.
Um, so do y'all and I try to preface this, I haven't as much with you. Um, but I want everybody to understand that you're speaking for you. You're not speaking on behalf of the Anglican Church.
Of course,
Um, so as far as you and what you understand of the church, is it a an eternal torment kind of afterlife for non-believers and non-Christians, or does that vary from
it
person to person? Is it not necessarily a doctrine issue kind of thing like we have some here?
I don't think it's a doctrine issue in terms of what I've learned. It's very much it's the traditional view, of course, of hell. Like for most of the centuries, it's been that way. We've had a lot of annihilationism, conditionalism, which I currently hold, and people like John Stott. Have you heard of John Stott? He was like a famous Anglican writer in the 70s, and yeah, he done a book, The Cross of Christ, and he pushed forward that idea, and he was an Anglican. He pushed forward conditionalism, which is basically anyone who's not a Christian will be the lake of fire is like annihilationism, and there's a lot of Bible passages that point towards that. And yeah, so I tend to push more towards that way, but there's it's very mixed. I mean, it's probably one of the most mixed. I thought Dean was the Anglican Pope. Me and the Queen, we're like this, so you know what we say goes. So I'm saying no more eternal conscious torment. So it's been spoken.
There we
Of
go.
course,
Universalism, church doctrine.
I would love, of course, maybe one day I will be a universalist. That would be amazing. Very much inclusivism. Like I don't think every Muslim Jew, like people who have these religious experiences, I can't see how God's deceived if they're in their element. See, like in Pakistan or something, and they're getting their revelation through that way. I don't see how they're going to be punished forever for something, especially conscious torment for something like that. I definitely wouldn't hold to that strict sort of doctrine. But I don't even think. I think Dry Apologist was saying to you on one of your last chats that even Catholics are quite inclusive now after one of the Vatican councils. Is that correct?
Yeah. He said that there's um, actual church writings that state that even atheists can go to heaven, even completely people that don't believe at all. So
Is it through like a general revelation of something natural?
I don't, dude. I had an hour and a half chat with him, and I still don't understand exactly everything about Catholicism. I need to have another one with him.
I'd like to
But
talk to Catholicism because he might educate. Like he's really smart and he's someone I really admire and I found on Twitter.
yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah, he's a good guy. I think before I started doing my channel, I had 2 or 3 chats with him. I know of at least one off that I know for sure. We did it about an hour and a half chit chat with nothing in general. It was just him and I bouncing from topic to topic, having multiple things going on. We'd go down a rabbit hole and we'd reach an impasse and we'd say, okay, and just throw on the next topic and
Yeah, that's cool.
keep
I
going.
like. You had a good video about animal suffering on Zach's channel the other week, and I thought that was really good. He's got like a good because for theism, of course, problem of evil is like the hardest thing to deal with, and especially like the problem of animal suffering over evolution
Now,
of way. Pardon?
do you do you hold problem of evil as a more tough position than like divine hiddenness or
Yeah,
some of those other topics?
yeah. The divine hiddenness, I'd say, probably second hardest, but I think with religious experience and the amount of people on the world who are religious and the argument from desire, I think there's kind of a bigger pushback against divine hiddenness. Maybe I think the hard ones are obviously for people who are searching and they still can't find God. That now I understand that. But with the problem of evil, like when you see gratuitous evil, like babies suffering from cancer and animals through evolution, a tough evolutionary process to get here, and still today suffering in certain ways, is I find that the biggest sort of tick against theism, personally.
So what made you take the jump from being non-believer to an Anglican to an amateur apologist for Christianity. That's
So
it's a pretty big move.
I say I'm an amateur, amateur but lover of apologetics. I'm not saying I'm an apologist. Maybe I am because I'm on Twitter putting quotes forward and things like that. Maybe I am, but it's not a term I view negatively. I know a lot of people see it as quite negative, but I quite really like Braxton, Cameron, people like that. Braxton comes across really nice, and Zach, a lot of nice guys, dry apologists, and it's just basically when I became a Christian fully last May or the May before, I started looking up because I'm like from a secular thing, you want to be rational. I don't want to just think, is this religious experience I'm having? I want to know, is there a firm foundation for Christianity and theism? So I sort of just dived in and looked through, and as I said to Zach, Willie Lane Craig pops up first, and watching all his debates and things like that, and then Gary Habermas, and just all the sort of people I'm sure you're quite aware of. And in America, there's some here like John Lennox, who's Irish, and he's quite good at science, and he's a professor of mathematics at Oxford University. Francis Collins, and there's just people I was binge watching and while reading the Bible still, and it was just shoring up my faith because I'm not someone who can believe things where I don't think there's any sort of rational basis. So I got really into apologetics, theology, history, and I was following along at Twitter, and it was about this year, April. I decided to just create a channel, Twitter, which I didn't think I'll get many followers, but I have, which is cool. But I just thought I'd just follow these guys and interact and try and look for other worldviews to interact with, and just see what the climate's like. And straight away, it's called soccer, not football. No, it's football, 100%. Much better sport. We can get onto that in a bit.
Actually, here, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's actually on my notes.
Oh, cool.
It's soccer, not football.
My favourite topic. So something I've always been a follower of. So I know a lot. But yeah, once I joined, the first people I saw were like Atheist Forum, Atheist Republic, and I thought, well, these are the big guys because these are the big atheists to deal with because they got 30,000 followers. And I soon found out, no, they're just they've attracted a lot of troll-like people and things like that. And yeah, I occasionally look at them, but then I've found Secular Outpost. I found Real Atheology. A lot of really smart atheists who have enlightened me a lot on the philosophy of religion side, which I think is a wonderful topic, and I want to buy more books on that and study more. And yeah, it's great. It's great, and also on that side, I've found like people like Alexandra Proust, Sid Fazer, all like extremely smart, Rich Swinburne, philosophers of religion who the top atheists sort of really respect as well, which is nice to see. So you find out like at the higher level, there's like a mutual respect there kind of thing, which is really nice and really comforting for my faith as well in a way. So.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to compare myself to Graham Oppie or Malpass or any of those, there's high level people. I'm not even right there with, really theology as far as like some of their like understanding of philosophy and goes. But I mean, it's the mutual respect thing is something that I try to hold on to.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it. There's times where I get in conversations where I troll people on Twitter, but I mean, I do it just out of fun. It's not trying to.
I do the same. Like I would put out a tweet which I know some anti-theist will just respond to this, and I think you've commented a few times, and if it's not like from an anti-theist way, but like we're going to talk about this, it's like a little dig like at new atheism or scientism and little things which I know are going to trigger. So, but most of the time I'm just like quoting philosophers or theologians which I like something they say or I want to read, and most of the time I'm watching, to be honest, other people.
I think one of the best. I seriously think one of my best trolling jobs on Twitter, as far as that goes, was Inspiring Christianity put a tweet up about basically a trolley problem. Would you push a button to kill like 10,000 people or let the person you love die or whatever? And I was going through and John Buck was in the comments and he said that He said that to him it sounds like genocide. And I said, well, I said 50,000 people die a day. So if you're killing 10,000 of them to save the person you love, what difference does it make? And he said, well, killing that many people in a day sounds like genocide to me. I said, and he goes, especially if you're doing it with basically the push of a button. And I said, cool. Congratulations. You just admitted that God commits genocide on a daily basis. So I'm done here.
How does he take that? Does he get quite rolled up?
He just, yeah, no, he responded back and he goes, you're so predictable. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And we left it there. I mean, he took it as what it was. I mean, it wasn't me trying to put an argument out there of, your God doesn't exist or your God's terrible. I mean, he took it exactly what it was meant to be. It was a lighthearted jab. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can't do that, then just don't be in the middle of those discussions because they're going to happen.
Of course. I see you going back and forth. Is it Stephen or what's his name?
Stephen Sting.
All the time.
Stephen Sting. Yeah, he's you know, I'd have to say out of everybody that I've met on Twitter, he's probably one of the people that I would consider a great friend. Him and I have a really good relationship, and it's weird because I met him in a modern day debate chat, and him and I started following him from there, and you know, I was like, hey man, I said, can I DM you? I want to ask you a question. He was like, okay. And we got into a personal conversation, you know, via like his DMs or whatever. And then after that, him and I just kind of like, it was great because he trolls people just as bad as I do. Yeah, so that's what's fun about it.
What denomination is he? Is he Baptist?
I believe he was a non-denominational. He goes to a mega church. So I'm pretty sure it's a non-denominational.
Oh, so it's definitely Joel Osteen.
Yeah, I told him it was Joel Osteen this morning. As a matter of fact, because we were talking about the COVID stuff, and he said that his church is so big up there where he lives that that people in the governor's office actually talk to the preachers at his church because his church attracts so many members into it to kind of get a feedback on the area. And I was like, so it's Joel Osteen, and he was like, no.
Well, seriously, there are worse people than Joel Osteen, worse Christian things. Joel Osteen's more like just a positive speaker man, money man. But there's what's that guy who's laughing at the moment? I posted him, Kenneth Copeland. So he seemed quite evil, if anything. Like Joel, I don't get the proper evil vibes. That Kenneth Copeland seems like a demon in this man, and there are a few like him that are great, worse. I'm not sticking up for Joel, but I'm just saying that Kenneth Copeland I would put higher. You still there, JB?
Spartan. Yeah, I'm here. Spartan had a follow up.
What team would Jesus pull for? What football team are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, Tottenham, of course, because that's my team. So me and and me being the Pope of Anglicanism, it's gonna. I've got a right hand seat, so. Have you froze, JB? Are you there, JB? Hello?
Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you now again as well.
Oh, sweet. I was just hoping for one of them. But we got both, so Copeland seems like a demon for sure.
No, see, Ethan agrees. That's cool. You froze again.
Yeah, I know. He always freezes when he's smiling. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool. It leaves a happy face. So.
I smile a lot, man. I just have a good time and laugh. I'm a easygoing individual.
What denomination's Ethan? Do we know?
He is a Calvinist.
He's a Calvinist. Oh, well.
He's a precept Calvinist. He said that God is the only way that you can have logic, and that is proof that God exists because of the impossibility of the contrary.
Are you playing around, or are you like?
I'm playing. I think he said he's. I think he said he goes. I think he said he goes to a Calvinist church.
Yeah, because you get forms of Calvinism. I'm reading the Institutes at the moment, and what everyone tells me, it's not the hyper Calvinism a lot of people Calvinists nowadays use it as, and it seems like very much like it's been twisted a bit by Calvinists in ways, like in terms of the double predestination and things like that. So yeah, so I'm enjoying reading Calvin. So,
I'm not a big reader. Everybody looks at me crazy when I say that I'm not, but I just I generally work 60 something hours a week. I don't know, go to a reformed church. I don't really consider myself a particular denomination.
okay. Thanks.
Um, yeah, I don't do a lot of reading, and plus, I've never really been one of those guys that has been great at reading, as far as reading and understanding and comprehending what I'm reading and things like that. But I do try to listen to the discussions, the debates from the from the top people, so I can at least have an understanding of what's going on. You know what I mean? And I guess my thing is I understand the I understand what they're saying more than I do with the terms. So a lot of times I get lost with the terms. But it's like once somebody explains like this term means this, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm right there with you. You know? So but yeah, I want to try to that's kind of what I'm setting up as my New Year's thing is I'm going to try to start doing more reading next year just because it's something that I've never been good at, something I kind of want to do more of.
Did you used to, like, as a Christian, read the Bible often, or do you force yourself sort of to read when?
I, I didn't do a dude. I'll be honest with you. I've done more reading of the Bible since I've left than I did when I was,
Oh wow, cool.
and it's and I was my biggest issue when I was just the fact that I didn't see where I belonged inside of a denomination, and because even growing up Methodist, there were things that I didn't agree with as far as the Methodist Church goes. And I've got a good buddy of mine that probably still is a biblical literalist. So I mean, it's 6 day creation. You know, evolution's not there. It's and when him and I were having discussions, and it's like, well, the Bible says this, and I'm like, well, I'm reading that same passage, and I don't agree with what you're saying here. And diving into and this is a quick story on what happened with me is so diving into trying to get a better understanding of what it was, and I just completely said, okay, you know what? I said I'm gonna scratch it. I'm gonna try to forget everything that I've learned growing up. I said I'm going back, and what I started doing was I started listening to Jewish people discuss the Old Testament. And once I got a better understanding of the Jewish Old Testament and how they viewed it, I was like, I don't understand how these two testaments line up because there's such a huge gap to me. And then I mean, then it just kind of got to the point where, I didn't want to call myself. I kind of leaned towards Judaism, but I didn't want to call myself Jewish because one, I didn't understand enough about it. Just that I knew that to me, the two testaments didn't add up. That they didn't merge together as much as people would try to say they did. And then so then I just started questioning that. And once I started diving into that more, it just kind of became a complete unraveled thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't throw it all away from day one. It was about a year and a half process. So it was about like you probably becoming a Christian.
Well, yeah. Well, it took me. Well, think about 17 and then 11 years in ways. Even though I was drifting the whole time, but it was a long sort of process in the first spell, and then when I've become a Christian fully, like a year and a half ago. So it's just a process. Everyone's on a journey, you know. I'm kind of like the opposite of you, but like you went from a fully Christian background and I was fully secular, and we found our paths on opposite ways. But we sit here and chat, and we're friendly, and that's what life's about. I think. That's what I want to do, and with my London Theist channel, I want to talk. I want to talk to atheists as much as and people who share. And I'm just interested in everyone's journey, and like what you said about the Old Testament, it's really interesting to me. So that's cool. Oh, you've gone quiet, JB. I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Am I good?
I can really quietly hear you, like really quietly. There you go. That's it.
Okay, we're good.
No, it's just gone quiet again. Jake, oh, he's off.
I'm back.
I can hear you.
You can hear me now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I keep
There's
because I can't see the YouTube link, so I click on to see if Ethan's writing anything. So then I click back.
This is
every time you freeze. So
this was me and Ethan going back.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. You froze again.
So then was this one.
Nice young one. That's a good one.
And JB said, well, and then Spartan said, well, he's a heretic, so I replied back with, or I'm sitting Paul's the heretic. And then this is...
There's only one heretic, with Dean is the heretic, so...
I think we can all agree on that. 32 minutes, we've got to go back and cut it out. I think that's the one where Dean says he's the Pope.
And I'm a King James onlyist. So I've said there's gold dust here. And if any atheists watch this and really want to attack me, there's a lot of material.
Do you have any questions, Spartan? Anything you want to know? I will do this. I'm going to pull the Dean real quick. Can you give us 3 books?
Yeah. Not on Anglicanism, no.
And the Bible doesn't count.
Not on Anglicanism, but three books like I'd highly recommend. Just what I really enjoy. Tom Holland's Dominion, which I thought was a good secular sort of view of Christianity and how it's spread. He's an atheist historian, but he admires what Christianity's done and still has a lot of respect for it and how it's shaped the world we live in. John Stott, who I mentioned earlier, the Cross of Christ, which is sort of a lot on the atonement, a lot of I found it really helpful, a lot of history about the Old Testament and how it led up to Christ and things like that. And yeah, the Cross of Christ, really good book. And there's a third book. I'm going to do 4. I'll do N.T. Wright, The Resurrection of the Son of God, which is a massive book, but I really like it. N.T. Wright's another. I was going to list actually famous Anglicans, so I'm going to say John Stott, N.T. Wright, C.S. Lewis, and I had someone else, but I can't remember. There's famous Anglican, George Washington. So
he's secular. We've covered this.
Yeah, no, we're claiming him. Don't worry. J.J. Packer.
We have
as well, famous Anglican.
We have no writings of George Washington attending church as a believer, but going to church as a sort of, placeholder because that's what you did in everyday life back then.
He was baptized as a baby, though, Anglican. So.
Oh, does...
So we claim his soul. No.
Do you know anything about Karl Barth?
Not too much, no. Jansen, who I talked to on Twitter, he's a massive Karl Barth fan. I think was Ross Burns? Is that his name who was on your channel before? Was he talking
Mhm.
about Karl Barth? I think he was.
That was 2 months ago. I don't remember.
I'm sure I remember him mentioning him. Quite a few people have mentioned him to me, but no, Ethan, I haven't read any. I might do when I get a chance. I've got so many books at the moment to read, like a lot. I'm a George Washington myth. Yeah.
Hey, I guess if people can be a mythicist about the founder of a religion, then he can be a mythicist about the founder of a country, right?
Yeah, true. Are you on the Jesus mythicist camp now, JB? Or
I tell everybody when they ask me this has been my answer for about 2 years now, and it's probably where I'm going to stay. If you ask me if I'm a mythicist, my answer is generally I'm 60-40. Jesus existed, and I basically don't care.
you just see him as like an apocalyptic Jewish preacher,
Yeah,
like
correct.
who
And
developed, you'd say maybe.
and I've heard arguments. I've heard arguments where Jesus isn't even needed for Christianity. There's actually I'll have to look up his name. I'll send it to you on Twitter.
Godless engineer.
No, not him. I have to look up his name. There is an actual, I think it's a Dominican bishop that is a Jesus mythicist.
Hey?
He is a church bishop and is a mythicist.
This man's a bit confused, but okay.
Because he holds that Jesus was a spiritual revelation, and that's all that's needed for Christian doctrine.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I haven't read his work. I want to read his work, but I haven't. Once again, I hate reading.
Yeah.
He's actually written books on it.
Are you a fan
I'll look it up right now.
Bart Ehrman and people like that? Are you a fan of?
I like Ehrman.
He's very much in the Jesus existed camp, but
yeah, he is. But I haven't actually seen him do a good discussion with a mythicist. Okay. He did one with Robert Price, but it wasn't
good.
Yeah, it wasn't. Robert Price didn't do good. Let's see here, Jesus.
Isn't Robert Price one of the main actual scholars who would say Jesus never existed? So he's quite.
Yes. Yes, he's one of the few people that actually holds degrees in the relevant fields that does it.
Along with the main man, Richard Carrier, of course. So.
Yeah, but he doesn't hold anything in the relative field.
Does he not? I don't know what he holds, to be honest. Richard Carrier.
He has his doctorate is actually in Roman history, not in biblical. So I feel bad saying that it's not in the relevant field, but if there's a field that's just outside of early Christianity that you're going to have a degree in, then it's ancient Roman history. I mean, they basically run parallel with each other.
Or Jewish second temple history, I suppose.
Yeah. Let me see here.
Have you do you read? You don't really read. Tim O'Neill. He's got a History for Atheists blog. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him. I follow him on Twitter actually. That's his name right there. I'll pull him up. Let's see here. That's not who I want. That's a little kid. Hold on. Thomas Brody is his name. He's a mythicist priest.
Methodist, okay.
Yep.
Interesting. I'll look him up.
Here he is.
Yeah, cool. I see him. Everyone, go check him out.
Yeah, he's a he's a mythicist priest, which I find kind of strange. And actually, I can't remember who he did the discussion with,
It sounds like
but
like, but even more than Gnosticism, because Gnosticism believes sort of like it was a spirit in the man, but he was fully God and not fully man, and it's even more that he didn't exist at all and then it founded it. So it's not even really Gnosticism, I suppose. So even more extreme.
Carrier did a discussion with, I want to say it was and Ethan can correct me in the comments here about his name, Dr. Daniel Ray.
Oh, cosmic.
He did a
Yeah,
Story of the
Ray,
Cosmos.
Story of the Cosmos. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's
I want
way
to
on me on.
I want to say that's who Carrier did a discussion with, and they actually did a mythicism discussion, and Carrier laid out a whole thing on how Christianity starts, like even without Jesus existing. And he's like, this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need. He was like, and you get it from here, 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 even if you don't.
You froze again, JB.
Hey,
Hello, JB.
can you hear me?
Yeah, it was too much Richard Carrier talk. It just destroys. But yeah, I feel like you could lay out, like Cameron sort of done with the Abraham Lincoln mythicist. You could probably lay out something like that. You could get back and like question, did Lincoln exist in a similar sort of method? But I'm not. I'm very obviously I'm certain Jesus existed. But even if I wasn't a Christian, I'd be very certain he existed. And do they think some of them think Peter and John and James and Paul didn't exist as well? Because we've
Dr.
got
Robert Price.
So he thinks Paul didn't exist, and the letters
Correct.
of Paul.
Correct. He thinks they're all pseudographical.
That's very strange. That's even strange. Yeah, but that's not as strange as the priest who thinks Jesus didn't exist, but it's so much up there.
Yeah, he thinks they're all pseudographical.
Oh, just to confirm,
but
all Anglicans believe Jesus existed, since we're on Anglicanism. So.
Yeah, I might. I don't know. I might send it Carrier an email and see if we can't do a discussion on mythicism on here. Get Spartan. I like Spartan, but I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Spartan is not ready to debate Carrier.
What about a dry apologist? Could he do a job?
I don't know.
I think he's really I've seen in certain talks. I really like Caleb.
No, Caleb's great. He's he's went into discussions with Malpass and actually stood in discussions with Malpass. But there's a lot of people hate Carrier. I like Carrier's debates because if there's two things you can't knock him on. One, he knows the topic inside and out, and two, he's a good debater. He's a skilled debater. That's what he does. So
he's no William Lane Craig, of course.
He debated Craig.
Oh, no, I haven't actually seen that one, but I could imagine it'd be quite good because they're both. Craig's a good debater as well, so as long as them skills.
I've watched him do interviews on it. I've watched him do things after it. Overall, I like Carrier. There's things about Carrier's personality I don't like, but I mean, overall, I like him. I mean, I find the topic more interesting than it is.
The thing I saw,
something I buy into.
Have you heard of Elephant Philosophy?
Yes.
He's a new Christian theist on YouTube, and I think he's on Zach's channel tomorrow or something. But he put out a video about Carrier, about half an hour video the other week, and it was good. It was a bit extreme. He was really going at him quite harsh, but he was like showing things that Carrier didn't accept, things like the Big Bang in the early 2000s, until certain atheists had to convince him. And it was just quite interesting. It's like he seems quite stubborn, Carrier. He seems like his way is right, and until literally everybody convinces, then he would accept that. But yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, but one of the things I've seen him talk about with his debate with Craig is he says that he wants to go back and actually score the debate, like they do with like actual like debates where they have debate scores.
Okay.
Was this point addressed? Was this point addressed? You know what I mean? And actually go through and score the debate. But he said the one thing that is interesting about that debate is almost every William Lane Craig debate you watch, William Lane Craig at the end of the debate spends it talking about his conversion and doing preaching on how great Christianity is. At the end of that debate, William Lane Craig was still attacking Carrier and didn't do his whole stand over. He's giving like his normal thing. That's the one thing I've seen Carrier hold on to. He's like, you can say what you want to. He's like, I got him to the point where he was he was still fighting me at the end. He wasn't.
Did you ever see the Craig and Lawrence Krauss debate where Lawrence Krauss was just speaking over him and had some horn at one point, and when Craig was talking, he was blowing this like horn and not letting it. He was just like the rudest debate I've ever seen.
No, I'm not. I don't do a bunch of these things that you see atheists do. Like, yeah, I watched Hitchens whenever I first started coming out, and and I did it talking to Stephen the other day, and we were running down like what they call the four horsemen. Sam Harris, great. He's great at brain. He sucks at everything else. Dennett, he's great at understanding consciousness and stuff like that. He sucks at everything else. Dawkins, he's great at biology. He sucks in theology. Hitchens, he's great at rhetoric. He sucks in theology.
Yeah. So it's strange that they were pushing but as a agnostic and Christian, the people you hear about as atheists are especially Dawkins and Harris and Hitchens. Sorry for that. They're the names you hear straight away, and so I guess they're the premier smartest atheists on the planet. And until you actually study it, that there's smarter people than Thomas Nagel, OP, Sobel, like there's loads.
Yeah.
Draper, who's I think agnostic maybe, but yeah, there's really smart.
I did. I've listened to probably 3 or 4 Hitchens debates. I've listened to
Crazy.
one. I've listened. Yeah, I did the Hitchens and Craig, and there was another one that I did with Hitchens, I think. And I've done one Dawkins debate. I think he did it with Craig. And I've listened to one Sam Harris. I wouldn't even call it a debate. It was him and Jordan Peterson on stage together, basically having a 2-hour discussion on where they didn't agree. And I think I've done a couple of Dennett discussions, but no debates. But I mean, that's as much credit as I've given any of them.
Yeah.
I'll listen.
I suppose they're like the Frank Tureks and the Wallaces of where you've got them who are quite popular, but not as high level as like Phaser and Proust and the top philosophers like Opie on that side. So, yeah.
I'm actually blocked by Turek and J. Warner Wallace on Twitter.
You're trolling them too much.
I've never talked to either one of them.
Maybe they just block every atheist inside.
I don't know. But I didn't even know I was blocked by J. Warner Wallace until I went to tag him in a post because I was tweeting out a YouTube video where people were discussing his book. And that's generally how I am, is usually if I'm talking about somebody, I'll tag them in a post because I don't try to talk about people behind their back. Come out and tell me I'm wrong about stuff, And I went to go tag him and I couldn't do it. And I was like,
why can't I find this guy? And I was like, you're blocked. I was like, well, that's terrible. I think he uses like an automated blockchain where it's people that are following people.
Really? Oh, maybe.
Yeah, not a very
So
good
who-
detective.
Atheists like thinkers like high level ones I should follow on Twitter or other than them already. Any ones you recommend?
Hold on one second. Hey,
This is Dean. I'm taking over JB's channel. Just letting you know the heretics here, and yeah, we're going to convert JB. So. Yeah, so you still want to chat, Ethan? Check. No, Zach, I didn't. Zach, Ethan, I didn't see your stream yesterday, but I saw you posted it. I'll try and watch later tonight. Easy to explain the expansion of Christianity, even if naturalism is true, given that Jesus existed. Absolutely. Yeah. Ross Burns doesn't like bar. Oh, I thought he did, but maybe don't. Yeah. Any more questions, Ethan? Anything to say? You back, JB? Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, should be.
I just
All
told
right, my
all
kid
your
walking
viewers-
here.
Oh, that's cool.
I could
just
hear.
told all your viewers that- Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you when you were talking.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I just told all your viewers I'm working on converting you to Christianity, and I've taken over, so it's all cool. So I'm on charge of your channel now. So.
I'm taking over Spartan's channel. So
Where's
hey,
Christianity? Where's Salem? He should have been here.
he's not here.
Disappointed in. And John Buck. Where are all the boys? Like, where's SJ?
SJ's not here either.
Or would you troll her too much?
I'm not blocked by SJ.
I think she seems really nice, and the thing is, she gets every time she posts something, there's about 100 anti-theists just on her, just like I think she must be the most trolled, apart from maybe Cameron and like the bigger ones, but one of the most trolled things. Maybe because her views are a bit, I don't know what that is, but it seems quite trolled.
Yes.
Also, I got a haircut to match my usual hair color.
Okay.
I look pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. Kids are stuck home with me.
Oh, hi, John. Depew. He just said, John, that you're on his show in a few weeks. That's cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And Stephen's here.
Shh.
Annoy you, JB.
He's late. He said he was going to be. But you got to wrap up soon, Andy, because you got...
I've got to go in about 15 minutes just to space for my fiance is a Pilates teacher, so she needs a laptop and that to do an online class here. But, yeah, I've got 15 more minutes. That's cool.
Okay.
Any other questions, Anglican-wise, or any other one? I'm trying to think what I forgot Anglican-wise. Not much. Covered quite a lot at the start.
We'll sit by and see if we have any other questions. John Depew. You expect me to join you in a coup, and I don't even have a wrench.
Give him a
Fair
wrench.
enough.
Give that man a wrench. Can I have a wrench next time as well, JB? Seeing as I've been on now, so
Yeah, did I not give you? Do you not have one?
no, I don't think so. Yeah, you have to recommend more atheists for me to follow on Twitter.
Can you type something in the chat? Twitter
Who, me?
or on on YouTube?
No, because I'm not logged in. I've only got it up.
Okay.
So I'll just type in next time.
That's fine. I'll do it next time.
That's cool.
Yeah, let's give Spartan some love. If there was one takeaway London wanted someone late to walk away with, what is it?
One takeaway from Anglicanism. I suppose that the on the Anglican subject, it's viewed as the via media, the middle way. Reformed Catholic. So it'd be, if anyone's not sure of Anglicanism, it's very much open. It's very much middle way. Try and trot the middle open path, liberal sort of path. And yeah, that's, I'd say it goes back this deep history. And yeah, that'd be cool. Have you froze again, JB? No, you're there. I see you. I see you. You're dancing.
John Depew actually has a cat that's at the vet right now that is named Carl Barth.
Oh, does he? Oh, cool. Is that why Spartan was asking me about Carl Barth a lot?
May have been.
Carl Barth. It's cool you have a lot of Christian followers, JB.
I'll tell you what, I interact with more Christians than I do non-believers generally.
Well, that's a great way to be, I suppose. Very open and not sort of tribalistic and want to hear others' views. So that's good on you.
I think Stephen has notifications cut on so that every time I tweet anywhere, he's like right there, like 10 seconds later. Question: why is universalism wrong? That sounds like a shot at John right there.
We discussed this earlier, but I'm not sure universalism is wrong, and I hope it is right. But I hold more to conditionalism. I think it's more biblically supported at the moment, but that's from what I've read and what I've watched. I don't really hold to eternal conscious torment, and quite inclusivism as well. But yeah, universalism is something I want to look a lot more into, and certainly interested. And JB said John's on soon to talk about it. So.
Any other questions before we head out of here? Did you work today?
Oh, we haven't spoke about football, JB.
Oh,
We had some questions written down.
yeah. It's soccer.
Soccer, sorry.
Why can the goalie not cross the middle line?
Why can the goalie not cross the middle line? He can.
Oh, okay.
Goalie can come up for any time he wants, but if the goalie comes too far forward, he's going to have to sprint all the way back. You don't want to be doing that.
Or you get one extra on defense. You just don't let them past you.
You, the goalie and the defense. No, it's going to be confusing this now. So I find American football very confusing.
It's straightforward. It's pretty
It
easy.
just seems like you stop every 10 seconds for nothing, and then an advert comes on about something, and then you're back throwing the ball backwards, and it just seems very stop-start. Whereas soccer, as you call it, seems very much get on with it, try and score goals.
Yeah, and 90 minutes later, it's 0-0.
Yeah, but that can happen in baseball. I went to a baseball game and it was 2-0. And I thought baseball was supposed to be some high scoring thing. And I saw a 2-0 game and I thought, what on earth have I come? So that was when I was in Atlanta, the Braves. Ibrahimovic is the best player, changed my mind. Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player. He scored about 300 goals more. He's won 5 European Champions League. He's won the European Championships with Portugal. So that and Ibrahimovic hasn't done any of that. So, yeah, clearly Ronaldo is close. David Beckham is Jesus in the flesh.
That's the only soccer I know.
Maybe David Beckham's an Anglican as well. I think he is. I can't
Possibly.
hear you again. Oh, there you go.
His wife was a singer, so she's automatically a Satanist. Isn't that how that works?
Spice Girls.
Yeah, so she's a Satanist, right? Isn't that how that works? You have to sell your soul to get famous?
Yeah. Yeah, she was a singer. Beckham's main man footballer.
Yeah. Can't prove he's not.
I'm pretty sure Beckham would be Anglican. Yeah.
Would Jesus be Anglican?
Jesus is God, so he's not under our denominational. And also,
Do you
on Anglicanism, we obviously believe anyone, like in mere Christianity, as C.S. Lewis would put it, that any Christian will be saved and who has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So we're not like I'm sure there's some denominations which only us can be saved, and we've got the right path. We're very open in that sense.
All right, well, I'm gonna do a real quick last call for questions. Let me give y'all just a quick second to get any more questions in here. And then I think we're gonna wrap it up. It's been fun talking to you, Dean.
No, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, JB.
Yes, sir. Well,
See if there's any more questions. I've got a few more minutes, by the way, if there is anything coming in. So.
yeah, I'll wait and see if anybody comes in. It's about 1 o'clock here. I got to get lunch for these kids because they're quarantining with me, stuck at home, no school.
Yeah, sorry about the early start, but we're a bit ahead of
No,
you.
you're good.
Thank you.
You're good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I got to do Toya Singer's in Israel, so that's a 7-hour difference.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm going to catch him in the afternoon, it's going to be earlier in the morning.
That's a big guest, big name guest. It's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot easier to get. I just sent him an email. Said, hey, man, you want to come on and talk about Judaism? He was like, yeah, I'm free this week. I was like, I can't do it this week. I was like, I'll get back to you. He's like, let me know when your schedule clears up.
That's cool.
But okay. Yeah, it seemed very down to earth and easy to talk to. It wasn't, my time's valuable. Don't waste my time with just loneliness.
Huh.
So I do have I am going to send you a couple of YouTube videos on Twitter because we were discussing mythicism earlier.
Yeah.
And Chrissy recently did a 2-part series. I think it's around 3 hours or so, where he's going through doing like a whole history on mythicism and debunking a lot of the stuff in it. If you don't know who Chrissy is, that's your mythicist to go to right there. He's not a myth. She's not a mythicist, but she.
He or she. Is it? He or she? Sorry.
I usually use they because I'm not sure which one they want to go by.
Oh, okay. Sure. I think I've seen they on Twitter. Yeah, talking about mythicism. They're not a mythicist, are they? They debunk mythicism.
Yeah, they're actually writing I think they just finished a book on mythicism, going back covering like the whole history of it. So.
Yeah. Wow.
But
If you
all right, well, we don't have any questions. Yeah.
I've got one final question for you. If you could have one Christian on your channel to interview, who would it be?
Let me Google them because I want to get their name right.
I can spell it for you. Copeland. Kenneth Copeland.
Get one. Okay, if I get one, I want Pope Francis.
Pope Francis, I say. That would be a cool one. Or you could go.
Think I could get any views with that?
You could get the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Anglican head of the Anglican Church. I can arrange that, so that'd be cool.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Or yeah, that would get a lot of views. I'll tell you that would break in numbers if the Queen come on for a first ever YouTube interview. So
My wife's related to her.
so she's in line to the throne.
No, well, maybe if 7 million people die. It's because they actually went back and actually one of her uncles went back, one of her cousins or something like that went back and traced their heritage, and they actually go back to the Lions, and it's actually like before, like they're not related to the Queen, but like their bloodlines merge, like
Okay. Cool.
a couple hundred years ago, kind of thing. No.
Is your wife born in England? Or, no.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Just
American.
Distance. Oh, cool. That'd be cool. Frank Turek.
He blocked me. Can you message him for me? All right. Well, I guess we're going to sign off. I appreciate you coming by, Dean.
Oh no, thank you very much, JB. It's just been fun chatting away. You silenced again. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you, JB, but yeah. Anyway, JB, it's been brilliant being on, chatting to you. Really nice meeting you. And can you hear me still, by the way? Yeah, so thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Back up.
I'm going to carry on. I'm going to start trolling more on Twitter. So, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll see you on Twitter here in a little bit. All right.